Okay, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I'm Taylor Convoluzier, a mining analyst at Red Cloud Securities, Inc. Today's webinar focuses on Kesselrun Resources Limited, which is currently focused on exploration at its Theonian Project located in northwestern Ontario. The company also owns the Bluff Point project on the same structural trend as New Gold's Rainy River mine. Today, I have with me on the webinar Michael Thompson, President, CEO, and Director of Kesselrun. The format of the webinar will be comprised of two parts. The first in which Michael will provide an update on Kesselrun, including going over the results from its 2020 3,000 meter drill program and what it revealed about mineralization on the property, as well as going in depth on what upcoming exploration plans are for 2021. The second part will take questions live, so please send us your questions via the chat box and we'll get to as many as we can. You can type in your questions at any time. To start, we'll handle the disclosures and then get into the presentation. So for Kesselrun, there may be some forward-looking statements made on this call. I would direct listeners to the cautionary note on page 2 of the Kesselrun corporate presentation located on the company's website. For Red Cloud Securities, Inc., I would highlight that this webinar is for information purposes only and should not be considered a solicitation to purchase or sell securities or a recommendation to buy or sell securities. And we note that this call does not take into account the particular situation or needs of individual investors. Participants should rely on their own investigations and seek their own professional advice before investment. For Kesselrun, I would note that in the last 12 months preceding the date of this webinar, Red Cloud Securities, Inc. has performed investment banking services or has been retained under a service or advisory agreement by the issuer. And in the last 12 months, a partner, director, or officer of Red Cloud Securities, Inc. or the analyst involved in the webinar has received compensation for investment banking services from the issuer. So now I'll turn it over to Mike to update you on Kesselrun and what investors have to look forward to with this company. So we're
great. Thanks, Taylor. Welcome, everybody. So as I said, Kesselrun Resources. So we're exploring for near-surface high-grade gold in an emerging gold district, Ontario, specifically northwestern Ontario. We're listed on the TSX Venture Exchange and OTC Pinks. And there's our forward-looking statements for everybody to peruse at their leisure. So, as I said, Kesselrun is exploring for near-surface high-grade gold in Ontario. Ontario is a safe jurisdiction in Canada, top-tier jurisdiction, and our projects are very underexplored. Northwestern Ontario is host to several multi-million-ounce gold deposits, one in production, development, and advanced exploration stage projects as well. Theonian Project is the project we've been focusing on lately. It's a past producer with approximately 30,000 ounces of production, past production, lots of shallow drilling on prospective zones. It also hosts a historic resource of approximately 550,000 ounces at plus 14 grams per ton gold. Lots of high-grade bulk tonnage zones have been outlined over 1,500 meter strike length, all at very shallow depths, all of which remain open, along strike and at depth. The Bluff Point project is our other project. It's an earlier stage project, but also has lots of high-grade bulk tonnage targets. We're fully funded for exploration. We just finished a $6 million raise in late 2020, ready to drill at Theonian. And we just released all the results from our past 3,000 meter drill program that we're just finishing up in the fall of 2020. There's a little capital markets profile. As I said, we're listed on the Venture Exchange, KES. Share price has been hovering just below 20 cents. We've got about 74 million shares outstanding, fully diluted about 92 million. And again, we're fully cashed up. We're in the $6.5 million range in cash and cash equivalents. Cash equivalents, just as a note, we own 2.7 million shares of First Mining Gold from a previous transaction. There's a list of the management and the officers, the directors. Myself, I'm a founding partner of a consulting company here in Thunder Bay, Flaggate Exploration Consulting, a full-service mineral exploration consulting firm. We've got approximately 30-ish people on staff right now, servicing multiple projects. I'm a professional geologist registered in Ontario with over 20 years experience. First half of my career, I worked for Teck Resources, Placer Dome Gold Corp. John DaCosta is based out of Vancouver. He's the CFO and director. He runs a corporate management and compliance company, and basically keeps us on side on all our filings and such. Caitlin Jeffs is an independent director. She's president and CEO of Red Metal Resources, a company that's listed on the OTC Pink Sheets, and she is looking at copper gold projects in the IOCG belt of Chile. And Yana Selena is a chartered professional accountant based out of Vancouver. Also, she's a CFO of several companies listed on the OTC and the CSE. So as outlined before, exploring an emerging gold district, northwestern Ontario. Numerous multi-million ounce development and advanced exploration projects. We've got Treasury Metals up at Goliath, and they just recently acquired the Golden Project off of First Mining Gold. First Mining has the Cameron Lake project, which is just northwest of our Bluff Point project here with the Red Star. The Rainy River Gold Mine is owned by New Gold in production out near Fort Frances. The Hammond Reef project, owned by Agnico Eagle, and then down in the left-hand corner is our Heronian project, right next door to Moss Lake, West Dome Gold's development project. So yeah, close to infrastructure, lots of good highways, secondary roads all over the place. We're only 100 kilometers west of Thunder Bay, where I'm located. And the Heronian project, just south of the Trans-Canada Highway on a major logging road. So, good geology, favorable jurisdiction, good regional infrastructure. Lots of check marks on the boxes for me. So we'll start with the Heronian project. It's 100% owned, about 4,600 hectare land package. As I said before, right next to Moss Lake, West Dome Gold's development project that's had a positive PEA done on it. 1.3 million ounces in indicated, 1.7 million in inferred, both at 1.1 grams per ton. We have the southwest extension of that geology on the southern part of our property. Again, historic resource was done in 1998 on the Heronian project, about just over 500,000 ounces at 14 plus grams per ton gold. Nice high grade, really outlines the potential of the project. Again, past producing gold mine, produced just shy of 30,000 ounces, high grade, mined down to approximately 300 meters depth. Property has multiple high grade and bulk tonnage targets. So a little bit of the history of the project. It was discovered in 1871. It was northwestern Ontario's first gold mine. Commercial production was short-lived in the 30s. There was intermittent work through the 80s and 90s on various parts of the property. The land package was there was about 14 different vendors originally, and Pele Gold came in and put the package together in 1996. Did a bit of work themselves, optioned it to various operators through the 2000s. Exploration was poorly focused, in our opinion, and then we acquired it in 2016. An all-share deal. We acquired 100%. There's 2% to 2.5% NSRs on the project, depending on where you are. So the 2016 to 2020 timeframe, we really focused on the model and the targeting and getting the data in digital format and compiling it and really taking a look at the targeting and building a model. We went in and did quite a bit of mapping, did some geophysics, did quite a bit of overburden trenching, get our eyes on the known zones, get our eyes on some new zones that we developed through our modeling and targeting. We discovered a few new zones. Great grab samples, 99 grams, 42.9 grams. Did a bit of channel sampling on it. We got good 3 meters at 7.7 grams. And then we raised a bit of money in July of 2020 and drilled just over 3,000 meters and finished that program up in the fall. So upcoming exploration in 2021 this year. So the focus is going to be drilling on this historic resource, the 3 zones that make up the historic resource, with the goal of doing a compliant resource estimate, 43101 compliant, by the end of the year. Secondary goal is also to outline some new zones on the Huronian gold trend and advance some of the targets down in the south, get them drill ready. So there's a bit of a zoom in on the property. You can see a picture of the old head frame from the 30s. So you got the southern part of the property. You can see the geology trending on from Moss Lake, trending onto our project. We've done quite a bit of trenching and target development down there. We think there's a lot of potential down there. But we're focusing on where the historic mine was, the 3 zones that make up the historic resource, and and that's where all our drilling is going to be concentrated on for the foreseeable future. There's a little bit of a close-up and a block model of the mine. As you can see, the zone trends sort of northeast to northeast, takes that flexure moving up. The McKellar zone to the southwest of the historically mined area has some of the historic resource on it. The Fissure Zone and the Fissure North Zone, those 3 zones comprise the historic resource. The Huronian zone itself that was mined did not have any resource put on it in that 1998 historic resource. So we think there's a lot of potential on that zone. Not a lot of drilling's been done on it. Most of the 90s and 2000s drilling was concentrated on McKellar, Fissure, and Fissure North. So you can see in that sort of block model, you can see the outline of the stopes, open down plunge, it's open along strike. See some of the historic drill intercepts on these zones. So as outlined, there's numerous zones with lots of potential for expansion. Only shallow drilling's been completed. As you can see, in this composite long section, the Fissure Zone, the Trench 2 or Fissure North Zone, the McKellar zones really have only been drilled to approximately 75 meters depth. We think there's lots of potential down dip along strike to add ounces to that. But as I said, our drilling right now is going to be concentrated on the known zones, that known historic resource. Start outlining that get that resource into compliance, and then you can see the Huronian mine. You see that primary plunge going down to the northeast, and then the secondary chute, the secondary plunge. You can see these chutes, and so right at the bottom of the mine, they had taken a small amount down here, quite high grade. We think that's the start of a third or fourth chute down here. We think there's potential further down for further high grade chutes. We think there's more open on strike as well. And then there's some of the historic intercepts sort of in a table. You can see from the 2009 drilling and the 90s drilling, and then a couple of those intercepts down on the Moss Southwest. You can see good potential, 13 meters at just over a gram, 11 meters at almost 1.5 grams. So recent, the 2020 drill program has concentrated on these zones. Most of the drilling was done on the Fissure Zone. That's where the bulk of that historic resource was done. We were really trying to get our eyes on the zones and really try to see what the structural controls on the gold mineralization, the accessory alteration mineralization, really understand things. This is sort of almost an orientation program. But we got quite good results. 1.8 grams over 57 meters, including 15.7 grams over 5 meters. Just fantastic intercepts. Couldn't have been happier. We're super excited. Along strike, we think we've got another high grade shoot on the Fissure Zone. We've got 2.9 grams over 13 meters, including 21.8 over 0.7. And as you can see, the zone 17 here is a new zone we discovered. We've done some trenching in this area in between Fissure and Fissure North. Lots of historic hits in that in this area between the two zones that nobody had ever really modeled. So we had done some trenching in 2017 and 2019 as well, following up on some of those hits and some of the ideas we had and testing our model. And then finally, the ultimate test was to drill a couple holes on one of the targets, and they bore fruit. We got a good 11.4 grams over 1 meter hit. In zone, what we named zone 17 after hole 17, we finally sort of figured that zone out. So we think there's lots of potential for further zones in between Fissure and Fissure North. It really opens this up, and see this area here in between this untested ground. There's not a single drill hole in this whole area where these the Fissure Zone, the zone 17, and they all come in, and as these splays come off the actual Huronian zone, we think that's a tremendous target. And then we drilled some holes down on McKellar. We think there's a lot of potential on McKellar, not only for some high grade shoots that are part of the whole Huronian structure, but also we think there's a lot of open pit potential, getting good wide intercepts at sort of gram and up to 2.7 grams, as you can see in that one hole, 2.7 grams over 16.8 meters. And there's an aerial shot of the Fissure Zone. You can see the Fissure North Zone here in the foreground. The shot is looking sort of southeast, and you can see the drill from the 2020 program set up. The Fissure Zone strikes sort of east-west, and then you can see this fault here. I'll just highlight it a little bit, and that's sort of the controlling. That's the splay essentially coming off the Huronian, and then you can see these other structural components. They trend sort of 20 to 30 degrees, so just off north. So that they also host mineralization. Those structures host the really bonanza grades. Holes 2, 3, and 4 drilled into the Fissure. Again, just to reiterate, these numbers were 1.1 grams over 57 meters, including 6.5 over just shy of 5, 1.8 grams over 57 meters in hole 3, 6.5, including 6.5 over 14 meters. Just fantastic intercepts. And then here's you can see this cartoon long section Fissure Zone You see that high grade chute, plunging down here, and we think there's, again, similar to Huronian, there's another chute we think down here, and potential chutes all the way down, and we just follow them. We think there's further on, again, further sets on strike more than likely. Indications from previous drilling where they were getting some good results that we're going to follow up on. But mostly untested strike extents, mostly untested dip extents. We think this it's essentially it's a dilational feature. This zone comes in like this, and you get a dilational jog in sort of in that controlled by that structure. And that's where you get these big blowouts that really give you that high grade. So the 2021 drill program, as I had outlined before, our goal is to get that historic resource into compliance. There's a little shot of the drill, same location as it's sitting there on that shot, just from the other side, and just a little shot of that's drill hole 3 from last year, and just you can see the beautiful quartz veining and the mineralization. And yeah, so essentially here's the layout of the 21 drill program as planned. We're going to put about 5,000 meters of infill drilling on the resource on Fissure, the historic resource area, with another 1,000 meters slated for step out. Fissure North, 2,000 meters on the historic resource, and 500 meters for some step outs along strike and down, mostly along strike. Zone 17, we think, and the associated area around there, we've got 1,000 and 1,000 meters in both categories, or to start outlining that zone and see if we can get some other zones outlined and really start showing the potential in that area. McKellar, we've got 2,000 meters outlined as infill, and another sort of 500 just to start testing along strike. And then Huronian, the historically mined area, we've got 5,000 meters. We think there's a lot of potential for a remnant resource to be put on just in amongst the stopes. And then 2,000 meters to step out, sort of down, a couple down plunge targets and a couple on strike targets. I'll just go back to this shear zone on Huronian is about 10 meters wide, and the old timers in the 30s, these were really taking one of the multiple veins in this 10 meter wide shear zone that's variably mineralized, and so these stopes are in the 1 meter wide range, and so we think there's a lot of remnant mineralization in between the stopes and on either side of these stopes. We did drill a couple holes into the area, got some decent results. We drilled into this stope here and got some good results. We got 8.7 grams over a meter right up against the stope in a big broader zone, a 13 meter wide zone of lower grade mineralization. This hole here drilled up near the shaft. We got some encouraging results. Got 13 grams over just shy of a meter. Hit one of the other veins. So yeah, we think there's a lot of potential in this stope area, just to put a remnant resource as a starting point. A lot of remnant mineralization, and then we'll start plunking some holes down plunge and then along strike. So that's Huronian. And then I'll give you a quick overview of our other project, Bluff Point. As I said, it's an earlier stage project. We own it 100%. That is our MO, for lack of a better term. We like owning projects 100%. Don't like having option commitments down the road that sort of overhangs projects. It's a large project. It's just shy of 9,000 hectares. You can see it's on strike from the shear zone that runs up from the Rainy River Gold Mine. That was the target. It comes up to hits this this granitic intrusion. There's a that's where the main mineralization is. So it's about 50 kilometers northeast of the Rainy River Gold Mine. Lots of high grade and bulk tonnage targets. It's a porphyry type model, for lack of a better term. Lots of historic trenching results. Homestake had the project in the late 80s and early 90s. Before there was road access, they never drilled it. They just did some hand stripping and mapping and some geophysics. And we think there's a lot of potential. There's an elephant hiding in this project somewhere. It's a so 80s home and 90s homestake. Got some great results, channel results. 4 grams over 6 meters, 3 grams over 7 meters. We picked up the project in 2012 when we started Kesselrun. We've done some drilling. We've done lots of overburden trenching and mapping. We've got some good results. Grab samples up to the north of 100 grams, 66 grams. The homestake showing 20 meters at 1.7 grams in a channel sample, 21 meters at 0.9 grams in one of the drill holes. And then just to the south of that, we've got a good 4 meter at 10 gram channel sample. 2019, we've been acquiring some of the ground. We acquired a lot of this ground down in the greenstone that had come open for staking, so we expanded the footprint of the project. So yeah, we acquired quite a bit of this ground down in this neck of the woods. So as I said, it's a porphyry type deposit target. Ontario examples are Cote Lake and Hammond Reef, which are nearby. They're granite hosted, or key and porphyry, for lack of a better term. And then developing the Straw Lake, the old Straw Lake mine, produced in the 30s. Sort of a similar situation to Huronian. We've got the strike extent off through here, so we're developing lots of targets. There's lots of historic results down here that we're working on. Underexplored, lots of potential. So why Kesselrun? So multiple high-grade and bulk tonnage gold targets. Where projects have seen limited exploration, only shallow drilling. Top-tier jurisdiction. Ontario is a safe jurisdiction. It's the place to be. It's the place where majors want to be. We've seen acquisitions in northwestern Ontario with Premier Gold just being taken out. We've just finished a recent drill program. Lots of good intercepts, high-grade gold intercepts. Good experienced management team and board, and we're fully funded. We've got $6.5 million cash for exploration in 21, and good things to come. And there's the contact, and I thank you very much.
Great. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Thanks, Taylor.
So we'll now start on the Q&A portion of the webinar. So just a reminder to everybody on the line that you can type in your questions at any time into the chat box, and we'll get to them. So maybe just to start off, Mike, sure. Maybe you can just provide a kind of an overview for investors that might not know the Northwestern Ontario region too well. Like it's often overlooked, I guess, within Ontario, and maybe talk a little bit about the opportunity that's there and maybe why it's been overlooked.
Sure. I mean, why has it been overlooked? That's a tough one. I'm just going to go back to earlier slide. Red Lake up to the north is sort of the northwestern Ontario. I mean, that's an established gold camp. A lot of action's been up there. A lot of interest. The projects. I don't know. I mean, the Golden Project I've worked the Golden Project with the consulting company. I've worked the Cameron Project. One of the partners with Fladgate, Neil Pettigrew, he was with Rainy River Resources during the discovery days. We've worked projects around there. the geology is top notch. I mean, I think the projects have suffered from low gold price, poor modeling, and a lot of different players. But I think the potential is huge in northwestern Ontario. Why it's overlooked is a tough one.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's got great infrastructure. You're close to everything up there, so it's a good opportunity there for investors to get in.
Yeah, absolutely.
So we have a couple questions kind of coming in on the drilling program that's coming up.
Sure.
Right at the end, you mentioned you have a strong cash position, having just done a financing. Do you expect that to be enough to get through the 2021 plans and as well as 2022, or?
That should get us for the historic resource. My goal was to get that 500,000 ounce historic resource into compliance. We did a drill targeting study and sort of planned out the program roughly in 2020 and came up with approximately 20,000 meters. So we should be, I think we'll be able to drill north of 20,000 meters, but we've got 20,000 planned so far, essentially. The goal is to get that 20 to north of 20 done by in the September, October range, so we can get that resource done. I hope the results are I expect results to be good enough that we'll keep drilling, and the market I think will be conducive to that as well. I think not to get into the arguments or the discussions about where I think the gold price is going, but long term I think it's going higher. So, but yeah, long and short of it is, we've got enough money in the bank to get that first resource done.
Okay, and that first resource, so will that include it'll modernize obviously the historical one, but you expect as well to pull in new zones that you've already discovered with last year's drilling?
Right, correct. Yeah, so that zone 17 in between Fissure and Fissure North, we're hoping to put some of that into the resource as well, and then the Huronian as well. I mean, results. If the results are good on Huronian, we can shift some meters to that, and concentrate on that. If the results if we get onto something good at Fissure, we can shift a bit of meters that way, and play it by ear. We've got enough in reserve to also throw extra meters at it and that. So yeah, the plan right now is one drill for the next couple months, and drilling in winter is a little bit more expensive, so we'll stick to one rig, and then as the spring comes around, we'll bump up to 2 rigs.
Right, and you mentioned the opportunity really for these existing zones. They're open, long strike and at depth. What depth do you intend on drilling down to? Right
now, we're probably only gonna. I think most of the plans for the Fissure North, and McKellar are only down to. I think the deepest hole vertical is about 300 meters. Obviously, Huronian is, we've got planned holes down below the 300 meter level, 300, 400 meters vertical. Just on that down plunge on the last shoot, they sort of started mining right at the end of the mine life. Mm-hmm. But generally, we're still, in the grander scheme of things, we're still pretty shallow.
Right. Okay. And then I guess kind of leading, a question that's connected to that. How is the 2021 drilling? How did that kind of refine the geological model that you have, and how did it translate into your plans for this year?
Well, so we were trying to get a handle on what the repetition of these shoots were, and just to click forward on, I'm going to illustrate that. So yeah, so we really wanted to get a handle on these cross structures, these structures that are sort of running just off of north, 20 and 30 or 30 degrees approximately, that we think are dilating, getting a dilation and that shoot in there, how they're repeating, what the mineralization looks like, so we can visually see. The earlier phase of mineralization is more sugary. It's been deformed, so it's a sugary quartz vein, and then the later stuff that has the sort of bonanza grades are more glassy, associated with galena and chalcopyrite. And then sort of, to see what the repetition, which way they're plunging. But yeah, I mean, we've got a pretty good handle that chute here on this fissure long section. As I said, we're testing down plunge to see if it was continuing. We tested along strike to see if there's another one. We think we hit the edge of it essentially. So we're gonna so that was successful. We think there's another one starting here. We've got holes planned on other, just to expand that long section. There's holes planned. We think there's another set of these chutes, these dilations sort of in this, approximately that far away. So yeah.
Okay. And then another question here, wondering, I guess, what kind of condition the Huronian mine workings are in?
Well, they're non-existent. The workings, I mean, the infrastructure, there's nothing there. There's foundations from the mill, footings and foundations. That's pretty much it. By all accounts, the underground workings are intact, but I mean, nobody's been down there. The head frames are gone, long gone. There's fences around the openings. So as far as I can see, as far as I can dare to peek over the fence, they're open. They're not blocked or anything like that. So, rehabbing them down the road, should that make sense? I don't see that as a big issue.
Okay. And then another question, wondering, maybe you could explain what I guess your and the company's what the systematic approach to exploration is that you're taking.
Well, as I said, before, like we really concentrate on the data and let the data speak for itself, and trying to keep an open mind. I don't like having a set model in my head and try to make the data fit that model. We've really tried to keep an open mind. Testing a lot of targets. I'm a big fan of overburden stripping or trenching. It's cheap. You get a better picture of it. Testing targets that way. The overburden's not very deep in the area. It's generally it's much less than a meter to maybe a couple meters tops. So we've done quite a bit of overburden stripping on testing green targets instead of testing with the drill hole, and then we can understand the structure better and quicker and cheaper, and then follow up with drilling. As I said, Zone 17 was a perfect example. We had some historic drill hits nearby. We had an idea. We trenched it. We changed that idea. We modified that model slightly. Came up with something. We did some geophysics. We dug some more trenches to test that. Refine the model again, and then this past year, tested with the drill hole, and proved the model correct. And that has been our approach as far as systematic goes. And now it's the main zones are resource driven. We're going to drill to put ounces on the books, and then drill to make discoveries. We'll continue doing overburden stripping on an ongoing basis, and we'll continue to do more geophysics, select targets in that way, and follow up with drilling eventually. As I say, it's the truth machine. So I don't like prospecting with a drill. It's very expensive. That's essentially what it comes down to. So
right. So I guess kind of with that theme, and maybe moving on to just before we wrap up, some of the other opportunities, within the the project as well as the Bluff point. Maybe what kind of work have you completed already at the Moss Lake target on the property, and maybe just do you have anything planned for that area coming up, or what's the opportunity that's there?
Well, so we've done 16 and 2017. We did lots of mapping and structural interpretation. We did a little bit of overburden stripping in 2017. Refined the model. Came back in 2019 and dug some bigger trenches on some targets. Those results were very encouraging. We liked what we saw, but again, it refines the model slightly. Shear zone's in a slightly different spot than we thought. The structures are slightly different down there, so we're again refining that model. We're going to follow up with some geophysics. We're going to do some detailed magnetics, possibly some induced polarization down there. Follow up with some overburden stripping again after that when we refine those targets. Get it drill ready. But I think there's lots of potential down there. As I said, there's some historic drill holes down there with 10-15 meters at gram plus material, and that's essentially what's at Moss. I think it's underexplored. Nobody's really been doing too much down there in the past. So yeah, we think there's a lot of opportunity down there. But again, it's early stages there. We're gonna sort of try to get the traction on the Huronian zone. That's the immediate focus. But we're not going to forget about that again. But so hopefully it should. My goal is to have targets drill ready for latter 21, sort of in the fall winter of 2021.
Right. Okay. And then at Bluff Point, obviously it's not the main focus either, but
right.
There are a lot of targets, I guess, that you have identified there. With any kind of future work, would you be looking at specific targets, or do you need to do more work kind of on a property scale and really hone in on what might be the best target, I guess? There's
some historic results, or results that we had generated from soil sampling that we've never followed up on. In 2012, when we started the project, we did a massive mapping program. It had never been really worked. Massive soil sampling program. We'd done an orientation soil survey over the homestake zone. Got good results. Saw that there was a correlation in B horizon. So we did a big survey over the entire property. Lots of anomalies, but the money was tight back then, so we focused on the top ones, but lots to follow up. Going forward, we're potentially gonna be doing we'll do some alteration studies. We'll do some maybe some detailed magnetics. We think that'll flesh it out a little bit. Maybe follow up with some IP. Really refine those drill targets and get them drill ready. But again, lots of potential. But we're focusing on Huronian for now. We don't want to lose our, get distracted with too many things.
Yeah.
So we're really concentrating on Huronian. That's where we think that we'll get the best traction.
Right. Okay. So maybe with that, I think that's a pretty good place to end. As you said, lots to look forward to in the very near future from the Theonian Project, with drilling getting started. Lots of meters coming up. So definitely keep our eyes out for that. So I'd like to thank you and thank Mike from Kesselrun for taking time to host the webinar today with Red Cloud Securities, and thank you to everybody on the line for tuning in with us.
Thank you very much.
And just a reminder that our next webinar will feature Quia Silver tomorrow, January 13th at 2 p.m. So thanks again. Bye now.
Cheers.